Hello, Don in London here. My video is all about recovery from addiction. Addiction, yes. Recovery from addiction to substance or behaviour. And I can guarantee if you can mention a substance or mention a behaviour, we can get addicted to it. And then life gets a bit unmanageable because everything revolves around that particular addiction. So for me it was alcohol. I became an alcoholic. And I don't know when I crossed over the line from heavy drinker to alcoholic. Not that it matters to me, but I think for a lot of people it does matter. But for me, the first drink did the damage. It made me feel, I suppose, more calm, more relaxed, less anxious about life, and it gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling as well. And guess what? My first drink was probably around the age of 7. So if that was the threshold I passed, maybe it was. I don't know. But later on in life, I could not stop. No matter what I did on my own, no amount of self-willpower or willpower generally would stop me from taking another drink. I would swear off, do anything to not do it, but I did it. And why? I guess because there was a gap inside, some sort of unhappiness which I couldn't get to grips with. Why else would we? And we can spend an awful lot of time on the analyst's couch trying to find out why we've got to a certain place. And that process can be really helpful, unearthing what caused the first change in our behaviour to the detriment of ourselves and others. And then maybe we can learn how not to behave that way in the future. What helps me most of all, though, these days is the fellowship of AA, that's Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm an absolute fan. It saves my life on a daily basis because it keeps me focused on being sober. And January for me is all about the first step of the 12-step program, being powerless over alcohol, and life is unmanageable if I drink. So for some years I've managed not to, but it's not the number of years which counts, it's just one day, this day, and making it work as best I can. So in AA meetings, and I go once a day if I can, and sometimes twice at the weekend, the preamble is shared at every meeting, and it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I share it here because it slows me down to get back into the moment of now. And I had the privilege of hearing a good share yesterday at my lunchtime meeting where I still make tea, just for the moment. And also hear good sharing in the meeting I went to this morning at 9:30 at Flood Street. So I've had 2 meetings in between my last video and now. And I did make one just before I went to the meeting this morning, but I realised that I'd overreached the mark of almost breaking the anonymity of another person in the fellowship, who I met on the way to coming home before going to a meeting. So it's very easy. I can talk about me, but I cannot talk about other people, and it would be quite wrong for me to share any information about anyone but me. So it's how it impacts on me. How does recovery impact on me on a daily basis? Well, there are 12 steps in the program, and concentrating on the first one, it's the only one we can get 100% right. And in this book, which is the Daily Reflections, it's a AA literature book. It gives us a reading a day, just to help us start off, if you like, on the right track every morning. And believe you me, before I get the book out, my head can be going all over the place. So it says here, the 100% step. Only step 1, where we made the 100% admission we were powerless over alcohol, can be practiced with absolute perfection. And the rest of us are just making our progress as we can, never perfect. Long before I was able to obtain sobriety in AA, I knew without doubt that alcohol was killing me, yet even with this knowledge, I was unable to stop drinking. So when faced with step 1, I found it easy to admit that I lacked the power not to drink. But was my life unmanageable? Never! 5 months after coming into AA, I was drinking again and wondered why. Later on, back in AA and smarting from my wounds, I learned that step 1 is the only step that can be taken 100%, and that the only way to take it 100% is to take 100% of the step. That was many 24 hours ago, and I haven't had to take step one again. But you know what? I remind myself every single day when I wake up. It's a little mantra in my head. Step one, I am powerless over people, places and things, and alcohol, in no particular order, but I put alcohol at the top of the list. I have no power over people, places and things. And if I do have control or power over people, places or things, life will get unmanageable, because I can guarantee people, places and things are not to be controlled by me. I'm merely part of what is going on. And that's the gift, if you like, of this particular philosophy, is that if we accept powerlessness over, it means that we can then start to make choices based on sharing, negotiation, or just accepting what we cannot change, and having the courage to change what we can, which is part of a serenity prayer shared at every meeting, and by me when I first wake up every morning. But I was sent an email from a Thought for the Day organisation, and it says, staying peaceful. Desires cause peace to disappear. You think that acquiring things will make you feel secure, but the reality is that the more you have, the more you fear that there usually is of losing it, and the further you are away from peace. Desires are the cause of all conflicts. When you want something and cannot get it, you become frustrated. Learning to be free from desires is learning how to stay peaceful. And that applies to people, places and things, because if I did, it's like if you desire a relationship with a particular person, and then to the exclusion of all else that is going on, it can set us on a track of single-mindedness, which may not be shared by the other person, or may be shared for a certain amount of time. But desire, as a possession, is really unhelpful to human beings, because it's better we don't actually possess, merely we utilise ourselves as best we can, and also be a part of. And if we're loving people, we let them be freestanding, and if they love us back, it's not about possession at all, and it's not about desire as such. It's about connection and continuity, I guess. I'm just working it out as I go. I mean, I've had many relationships in my life, but each one now, as I go along, needs to be with common understanding. And it's not about my will over their will. It's about an understanding and a way of being together. And it's the human being part, being us, being ourselves, and being able to deal with life as life turns up. So we can never work out whether it's going to last more than one day, but there's more chance it will if we let people be themselves, and we can be ourselves in their company. And it's a sort of equal status, always. As Bill sees it, this one, it's very pertinent always from my point of view, and it talks about 3 choices on page 327, so I'm nearly to the end of this book, but then I'll start at the beginning again. It says the immediate object of our quest is sobriety, freedom from alcohol and from all its baleful consequences. Without this freedom we have nothing at all. Paradoxically though, we can achieve no liberation from the alcohol obsession until we become willing to deal with those character defects which have landed us in that helpless situation. In this freedom quest we are always given 3 choices. A rebellious refusal to work upon our glaring defects can be an almost certain ticket to destruction, or perhaps for a time we can stay sober with a minimum of self-improvement and settle ourselves into a comfortable but often dangerous mediocrity, or finally we can continuously try hard for those sterling qualities that can add up to fineness of spirit and action, true and lasting freedom under God, or, as in my case, good conscience. And the gift of all of this really is to be oneself on a daily basis, to know that we're neither no bigger, no smaller than anybody else. And that serenity prayer, which it doesn't elude me ever on a daily basis, and it serves me well, especially when things are not going quite right to any plan I might have thought of. I just say to myself, grant us the serenity, and it can be to God or good conscience. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it is the wisdom to know the difference which always makes it okay for me, just to be me, and for you, just to be you. We need to be neither no bigger, no smaller than anybody else. And if we have an attitude which shares, negotiates, understands, informed choices, we get as much control as we need, and we still remain powerless, always, over people, places and things.